Okay, so this is a video on recurring decimals into fractions. So if we look at an example, say where we've got one repeating number. So we're looking at the decimal 0.2 recurring, and that's often written like this with a dot above the repeating number. So if we want to convert that into a fraction, in this example we only have one repeating number in the pattern. So let's say we call our number 0.222. Let's say we call that x. Because we have only one repeating number in our pattern, we can take our value of x and we can multiply it by 10, and that will move that first value in front of the decimal point. So if we multiply both sides of this by 10, we get 10x equals 2.222 recurring. Then if we treat this as a calculation where we can subtract the bottom row from the top row, so we've got 10x, take away 1x, which will give us 9x. And then if we subtract the right hand side, well, 2 subtract 2 will give us 0, 2 subtract 2 will give us 0, etc. until we get to the decimal point, and then 2 subtract 0 will give us 2. So we've ended up with 9x equals 2, so x is equal to 2/9. And if you check that on a calculator, if you typed in 2 divided by 9 and put it as a decimal, it should give you 0.2 recurring. Okay, let's look at a different one. So you've got ones in your revision book where you've perhaps got two repeating numbers. So I'm going to pick ones that are different to the ones in your book. But let's say you've got 0.57. And this is indicating the 5 is the beginning of the repeating number and the 7 is the end. So if I wrote this out as a normal number, it would be 0.57, 57, 57, etc. So like we did on the previous example, we're going to call that number x. So we write out the first little bit of that number. Now this time, in our recurring decimal, we've got the 5 and the 7 are both part of the repeating section. So we've got two numbers this time, which are repeating in our pattern. So instead of multiplying by 10, like we did here when we had one number repeating, this time, because we've got two numbers repeating, we're going to multiply by 100. And that will move these first two numbers in front of our decimal point. So we will then have 57.575757. So what you should find, if you write it fairly neatly, you should find that these two numbers here are in line, and you want most of them to be the same as the one underneath. So again, if we subtract these from each other, so 7 take 7, 5 take 5, 7 take 7, 5 take 5, 7 take 7, 5 take 5, and then 57 take away 0 will give us 57. And on the left hand side, 100x take away 1x gives us 99x. So we've now got 99x equals 57, which means if we then divide both sides by 99, we end up with x equals 57 over 99. So we've now written our decimal as a fraction. Again, you could check that. If you type that into your calculator, it should give you the correct value for the decimal. Okay, the last one I'm going to do is one of this form. So 0.218, a dot above the 2 and a dot above the 8. So that indicates the numbers 2, 1, 8 are repeating. So the 2 is the beginning of the repeat, the 8 marks the end. So if we wrote that out, the first few repeats, it would look like that. So like we did before, we're going to call that our x value. So In this one, we have 3 repeating numbers as a part of our block. So when we had 1 repeating number back here, the 2, we multiply by 10. When we had 2 repeating numbers, the 5 and the 7, we multiply by 100. If we've got 3 repeating numbers, we will need to multiply by 1000. That will move those 3 numbers now in front of your decimal point. So you're going to have 218.218, 218, 218, etc. We then subtract them from each other. All of these will become zeros all the way to the decimal point. 218 take away 0 will give us 218. 1000x take away 1x will give us 999x. So we know that 999x equals 218. Divide both sides by 999, and we've then written it as a fraction. Now in that one you can actually simplify it down, but I'll leave you to have a